in hearing you show some of it, or even talking about one of your solos from your record. I have one in mind that's, I think, very, very well known and popular that my students love.
Which one?
Moon Rock.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That one is, I just did that one, so I could definitely talk about that one. I mean, dude, I think one thing that I actually got from, like, listening to Jacob Collier, and I took a little lesson, is, you know this guy, June Lee, who transcribes a lot of, like, Jacob Collier stuff? He, at one point, was giving lessons, and I took a lesson from him, because I was, like, really interested in, like, you know, what this guy's opinions were on, like, Jacob's techniques, because he had just transcribed so much of his stuff. Obviously, you just, like, see, you know, if there's any patterns, you spot them. That's how you spot them. It's just, like, repetition. So, I talked to him, and a lot of it, like, June was like, a lot of it is voice leading. It's like, if you think about how the voices are moving, that's kind of what is the interesting thing about the chord. It's not really the identity of the chords themselves, but like how the voices are moving compared to each other, and then how the chord resolves. So I thought that was a super interesting concept, and also I transcribed some Robert Glasper. I listened a lot to Robert Glasper and listened to the way he improvised, especially on this one record, In My Element. I really like that. I still need to really dig into that a little more. But I don't know. I noticed that Robert Glasper was using like a lot of triads, a lot of triadic stuff when he was playing out. He would choose a certain triad compared to like whatever the key at the moment was. He would pick a triad like B major over D minor, for example. And so I just started experimenting with playing different triadic vocabulary over different chords of other material I had. And I think that kind of those two things form the core of my outside playing, perhaps, where I think a lot about, like, self-contained shapes when I play outside. I'm thinking, like, within a scale. And I think that playing outside is really cool because you are kind of bending one kind of like side of the square, you know what I mean? If I don't know, you could there's like so many different ways you could break down like what a note is or what music is or what anything like that is. But maybe some properties are like what's the rhythm? What's like the key? What notes are being played relative to each other? And you can like really fuck with one and keep the others consistent, and it's almost like magic to a lot of listeners, because they're like, this shouldn't work, but it does. In some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't, and it's also just like a different way to create tension, and play with like creating tension and resolving tension. So I don't know, I basically just piled on a bunch of buzzwords, but
no, that's awesome. I mean,
I think pretty intuitively. I'm pretty experimental with that shit. I mess around with it and find something that works, and then I play that. I'll say that.
Would you be down to go back to the whole moon rock dissonance conversation, and would you be down to walk us through kind of some of the way you think about that song? Maybe even show us some stuff in terms of what you're doing.
Dude, yeah, sure. I'd be down. So, like, the chords here are pretty simple. Let's see, yeah, because I'm, like, changing the pitch in weird ways on this. Yeah, so there's just that one, it just kind of goes like C sharp minor, A flat 7, then like F sharp sus, F sharp, 7 flat 9, and then that just resolves, instead of resolving to like the 1, you could call it like the B major. It just kind of loops back to C sharp. So I think that one of the main ways I'm thinking about the soloing on this too is like taking this 5, because this has like the same harmony. This like F sharp sus has the same harmony as the C sharp minor, and then this is kind of like a dip outside of that, but it comes right back. So this is really where like all the tension is, right? So I'm thinking a lot about like A flat 7 and like resolving in different ways to that stuff. But with this solo, I guess I was definitely playing outside a lot. I think a lot of the lines in this solo, I'm like starting in a key, maybe in A flat 7 or in C sharp minor. Man, with me with the N harmonics over here, bro. I don't know. Should I use D flat minor and A flat or what? See, because I always think it's easier for me to think about C sharp and easier for me to think about A flat.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm a flat thinker.
Be a monster.
Just
D flat. I don't know. D flat just doesn't do it for me, man. D flat just I need.
Just
D flat. I don't know. D flat just doesn't do it for me, man. D flat just I need that C sharp minor on the real charter. Yeah, pretty much all of these licks start in a key that makes sense, that's congruent with the chords that are going on, and then they take like a shape that's being played and they kind of like move it outside of the key and like plane it in some way, and then come back in the key. So that's a lot of what I was thinking for that solo.
Cool.
I can like pull up the MIDI.
Oh man, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, and while you're doing that, I'll kind of demonstrate. I think I got a better handle on it now. So for this kind of C sharp minor 9 to this kind of A flat 7 with the sharp 5, and then this kind of, I can't remember if you said G flat or F sharp sus 13.
Yeah, it's like F sharp sus 13, and then it kind of moves the G sharp and the B kind of like move down to G and B flat for this like dominant flat 9 5, and then it cycles back around to C sharp. I need to play down here. Yeah, I never played in that key because I actually used this plugin to change the pitch on that song, because then I can automate it. So instead of having to like play between half keys and like physically change the like pitch, I can like automate it to change like gradually over like a measure, for example.
That's cool.
And I can like program it to be like in between notes and shit like that. So that's awesome. I wouldn't recommend doing that on music though. you run into some difficulties. And this scale up, bro, holy shit.
Isn't it funny analyzing yourself?
Yes. This looks like F major scale. F major scale. Some like I don't know if you have sound there, but something like that, and some kind of movement.
So in a way, it's also kind of like D minor, like it's sort of got that half step above sound.
Oh, absolutely. This yeah. Exactly, and then it resolves back in with like being in key, with like something that's, I think that's partially what makes it work, is like being so explicit with the melodies on both ends, because you're really maintaining kind of like that side of the square, whatever you want to call it, where like the rhythm makes sense, the melodies like make sense within themselves, like even if it's a half step away, it's still like pretty simple like melodic stuff within one key, And so, like, I think we definitely recognize subconsciously, like, we might not know the pitches, but we can, like, hear, like, the difference between the pitches, like, in distance. That definitely contributes to the sound. I mean, obviously it does, but, like, people can tell when it's, like, within a scale, even if it's not in the right scale. Like, if you, you can keep what you're playing within a certain scale, and that will give it a certain sound on this solo.
Yeah, one of the things I love about thinking of it that way is you can get a bit formulaic with it, right? So you can be like, all right, D flat minor, sorry, C sharp minor, and be like, okay, this kind of F major sounds great, and you can almost like be like, I'm gonna get this in my ear, and actually I kind of love that just like as a chord. It's so weird, but
Yeah,
like
right.
then and one of the things for me that you did there that's so awesome is just how you immediately like completely naturally resolve back in like
exactly. And the way, let me see the exact note I'm doing that on.
Dude, no.
C, F, G, A, B flat, C, and then C sharp, and then D sharp. So it's like F major. It's like, I'm just immediately like, I'm getting to that C. And I mean, you think about like, you just like play any scale and compare it to like a parent key that you're like superimposing it over and just see like what notes are the same. So like, if we're in C sharp minor, right? Maybe like the B flat is the same. Maybe you could see that as like the sharp 11 or the 13 or whatever of C sharp minor. That you're. I'm just immediately like, I'm getting to that C. And I mean, you think about like, you just like play any scale and compare it to like a parent key that you're like superimposing it over and just see like what notes are the same. So like, if we're in C sharp minor, right? Maybe like the B flat is the same. Maybe you could see that as like the sharp 11 or the 13 or whatever of C sharp minor. But like, most of these notes are not in this chord. Right? But then any of these notes are a half step away from the notes then. Because, like, as far as, like, major and minor scales goes, like, scales, like, as far as, like, major and minor scales goes, like, scales with 7 notes in them, it's almost impossible. You're almost always on a note in that scale or a half step away. So, again, like, the ability to go just, like, one step up or one step down is like useful for more than if you're just playing in like one half step above or below. It's useful in like a much more like localized way where if you're on a note and you can go like move it a half step up, then you're in the next like set of notes. And that's yeah, this shit is just like planing. Right, what is it? Fucking just diminished shit. What are the? I don't remember the exact notes I'm playing. This person, I'll go over this like little planing thing. There's a. It's just like diminished right there, right? Yeah, taking this diminished step and moving it up by a whole step, and then like enclosing it or something, right? And then like changing the shape slightly. Yeah, it's like that C diminished, and then it goes up to D, but then becomes like altered. So it's like. And then it ends in a some shit like that. Yeah, kind of like in C major, you know?
right.
Yeah, C major, A minor, something like that. I mean, don't ask me why I resolved there.
Well, you're just doing
again,
it
it's
naturally, right?
Well, F is really close to C. I guess it's like those two scales are really far away from C sharp minor. I guess C has more in common with C sharp minor than F major does, but yeah, it's just like outside. It just sounds outside, so.
Well, it's so cool because I think the way you structured this lick is, it'd be really easy to just be like, you know what I mean? But you're not doing that. You're actually adding in different patterns, and then you're switching up the pattern to give it more of an actual, kind of linear contour and progression, and then ending at that F major. So I guess, the kind of A diminished. Sorry. To the D. And is this all over the C sharp minor still, or is this a different spot?
I mean, this is like kind of irrespective of the chords at this point. There's like a loop that's going on that is like kind of going back and forth. And so in the beginning of the lick, I'm starting by playing like very explicitly in the chords. I'm actually doing like, let me see. Might be hard to hear through the mic, but basically I start by playing like A flat 7 material, right? Right? Yeah, so I start in like that C sharp minor, like, yep, exactly. It's just like that kind of like altered, kind of like vibe, you know? And then I do some bebop shit down to this A, which is like still in the chords, except we're in like that A flat altered, like that flat 9 sharp 9 kind of vibe. And then there's this shape, right? And I think one cool thing you can work on as a soloist, when you're trying to like fuck with your solo, is like take a motif and mess with it in some way. It's like keeping one thing constant and then changing something else about it. So like keeping the fact that there's 4 notes, right? And then like changing where the pattern actually comes in by like introducing other notes. So it's like, right? So instead of this, it's like, and then changing like one note to be a different interval, right? And then, right, playing that, and then keeping that, and that's like a super, I just know, that's like just bebop shit, and that's like, I'm not thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna do this, it's just like, alright, I get to this, and I'm like, alright, I'm gonna play, like, this was really like a weird sound, like this weird, like, kind of half diminished 7 sound or whatever it is, so I'm gonna play something super basic, and that leads into like that vocabulary, which is just like super easy to do. But then I guess you're ending on E, which is like a note in C sharp minor. It's like in the chord. So
amazing, man. Well, thank you so much. That's incredible advice to everybody. And speaking of which, where can everybody follow you on social media? What are your handles?
Oh man,
Twitch, Instagram.
Everybody. Something like. And then it ends in a some shit like that. Yeah, kind of like in C major, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah, C major, A minor, something like that. I mean, don't ask me why I resolved there.
Well, you're just doing
again,
it
it's
naturally,
like,
right?
Well, F is really close to C. I guess it's like those two scales are really far away from C sharp minor. I guess C has more in common with C sharp minor than F major does, but yeah, it's just like outside. It just sounds outside, so.
Well, it's so cool because I think the way you structured this lick is, it'd be really easy to just be like, you know what I mean? But you're not doing that. You're actually adding in different patterns, and then you're switching up the pattern to give it more of an actual, you know, kind of linear contour and progression, and then ending at that F major. So I guess, you know, the kind of A diminished. Sorry. To the D. And is this all over the C sharp minor still, or is this?
Весь прогресс удалил.
I mean, this is like kind of irrespective of the chords at this point. There's like a loop that's going on that is like kind of going back and forth, and so in the beginning of the lick, I'm starting by playing like very explicitly in the chords. I'm actually doing like basically I start by playing like A flat 7 material, right? Right? Yeah, so I start in like that C sharp minor, like, yeah, exactly. It's just like that kind of like altered kind of like vibe, you know? And then I do some bebop shit down to this A, which is like still in the chord because we're in like that A flat altered, like that flat 9 sharp 9 kind of vibe. And then there's this shape, right? And I think one cool thing you can work on as a soloist if you're trying to like fuck with your solos is to like take a motif and mess with it in some way. It's like keeping one thing constant and then changing something else about it. So like keeping the fact that there's 4 notes, right? And then like changing where the pattern actually comes in by like introducing other notes. So it's like, right? So instead of this, it's like, and then changing like one note to be a different interval, right? And then, right, playing that, and then keeping that, and that's like a super, I just know, that's like just bebop shit, and that's like, I'm not thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna do this, it's just like, alright, I get to this, and I'm like, alright, I'm gonna play, like, this was really like a weird sound, like this weird, like, kind of half diminished 7 sound or whatever it is, so I'm gonna play something super basic, and that leads into like that vocabulary, which is just like super easy to do. But then I guess you're ending on E, which is like a note in C sharp minor. It's like in the chord. So
amazing, man. Well, thank you so much. That's incredible advice to everybody. And speaking of which, where can everybody follow you on social media? What are your handles?
Oh man,
Twitch, Instagram.
Everybody, almost all of my handles for Instagram, for Facebook, for Twitter, for Twitch, for TikTok. It's Rob Arousal. ROB Arousal. AROUSA. It's my makeshift name right now. So come catch me on Twitch. Come catch me on Instagram. I'm releasing more shit. You know, as we go, I'm accelerating my rate of completing things and putting things out. Got a lot of cool stuff planned for the rest of this year. So come get suited up, guys. Chill, Rob, bro.
Can't wait, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate you imparting your wisdom on myself.
Thank you, man.
I think it did.
And all this shit is just opinions, man. It's just like what I think. It's not right or wrong. Just like if you the listener, you the viewer, you get something from this, great. If you think it's bullshit, then great. That's also true. It's just all personal. It's all like whatever you can get from it. So move forward and do your own thing, cats.
Totally, man. Just like music, 100%. It's awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for finally getting to chat, bro. This was a good time, bro. I had a good time. We gotta do this again sometime. Yeah, let's make some shit soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're gonna make that happen for sure. Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm ridiculously excited because we are starting a new series in which we are going to chat with some absolute master musicians and educators. Today's guest is someone who I think has had a huge influence on the music and especially improvised musical world. He is someone who is a master of essentially entering what he refers to as the space, right? This place where you can be playing your music, playing your instrument without being stuck in your head. I would imagine that a lot of us can relate to that feeling of being stuck, whether we're having thoughts about how we sound, or competition, making a mistake, etc. So let me just cut straight to the chase and say who today's guest is. It is the great pianist and educator and composer, Kenny Werner. So in this interview, he walks us through some of his methodology for actually practicing entering that space and releasing your ego so that you can actually play from a really, really honest and sincere place. Also, just want to quickly let you know that I actually shortened the interview a bit to make it work well for YouTube and just make it as efficient as possible for all of you to get to learn the most you can in a shorter period of time. But that said, there is so much great insight in the entire conversation. So what I'm actually planning to do is release the full conversations I have in this series as a podcast. I will be sure to link that in the description. Highly recommend you check it out. Now, really quick before jumping into the interview, I just want to tell you about Kenny's new book, Becoming the Instrument. So I read this book, and it is already having a huge impact for me, and I highly recommend it. We're going to talk a lot more about the concepts that you'll find within in the interview, and I would imagine a lot of you might have already read his previous book, Effortless Mastery. So for me, this book is a really great continuation of those concepts and also an expansion. So I highly recommend you check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. The link I put in the description is actually an affiliate link. So if you click it, I will get a very small commission, which I highly appreciate. No worries either way, but if you're down to use that link and you plan to get the book, that would be awesome. I'll also be sure to put information in the description so that you can actually get in touch with Kenny's team if you want to, get added to his email list, or if you're interested actually in some of the courses that he himself teaches, which I would highly recommend, although I have not gotten to take them yet, but it's definitely something I'm personally looking into for myself. All right, without any further ado, let's jump into the interview. Welcome, everybody. My name is Noah Kelman, and it is my great pleasure to be here today with the great Kenny Werner. I'm really, really excited to chat with you, Kenny, because actually I've been a fan for many, many years. So jump in here and talk with you a little bit to start off about your books. So, Effortless Mastery was released in 1996. Maybe just so many words, briefly, if you could just kind of give our viewers here. And also, what Effortless Mastery is.
Quite unintentionally, I was seeing something very different from what people normally comment on. I thought if there was a certain passage you couldn't play, that if you isolated it and let the hand play it, you would get it in a more definite way than if you were trying to make the hand play it. And it's the same thing with jazz. If you're trying to play on the rhythm or trying to play on the changes, it's usually when you get lost. It's dynamic. It's still changing. The latest, I think, and clearest definition of what effortless mastery is, separating the body from the mind and separating the mind from the ego. It's essential for the second thing, too, because the mind can sit and watch while the body plays. That's what it means. Really becoming the instrument means when you touch the instrument, instead of thinking, where is this supposed to go intellectually, musically, you can see where do the hands want to go. So the exercises are not demanding from a musical point of view. They only pay attention, are you jumping in and trying to control the hands? Because we found, as effortless mastery has continued to boil down to a clearer and clearer concept, that the body plays better than the mind making the body play. For some reason, it fell on me to be able to precisely tell people how they did it. And in trying to demonstrate it,
Может, наоборот, да нет. Нет. Или нет. Не убить меня, не убить.
you